Okay.
I'd like to call the meeting of the Benton Harbor Downtown Development Authority to order, please. It's October 16th. I will call the roll. Virgil Hatcher.
Here.
Richard Roberts. Here. John Pugh.
Here.
Linda Allen.
Here.
Deidre Fields.
There.
Here.
And we're expecting Manager Little to come in the next few minutes or so. I need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
Motion to approve the agenda.
All right.
A motion to add an item to the agenda?
They come
You
now.
gotta approve it
They
first.
can go. They come now.
We need a support.
Second.
Okay. All right, and any discussion? This is a real pain. Any discussion on the motion to approve the agenda?
I'd like to add an item, please.
Okay,
Discussion of parking.
okay. Would you like to amend the
Parking
motion
topic.
to include a parking discussion?
Yes, I'd like to amend the motion to include parking.
And there's a support for that too.
Support.
All right. Okay. So all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public comment, please. Anybody have a comment to make?
No.
Okay, well, hearing none. Moving on, we have our treasurer with us this morning, Linda Allen. For the treasury report.
Okay.
You have to hold it.
Hold on. I'll hold it for you.
You wanted to speak?
Yes.
The treasury report as followed. At the end of the month, September 9/1/9/30, we closed with 41,258.44. Current balance right now is 20,251.44. We had 4 invoices that have been paid since the end of September. We paid for our container, $600, and we made a check out to Villa Environmental, $28. And Whitman's Association, there was 2 checks for them. One in the amount of $5,228.75, and the other check was $12,371.25, which brings our balance to the $20,251.44. That's all I have for treasury report.
Any questions for Treasurer Allen? No? All right, moving on. Marketing, promotions, communications. Richard, I think you probably are most up to date and you've seen some things too. So anything you want to comment on, either one of you?
And I'd like to lend myself to John, because this is John's baby per se. And I've done some stuff in the interim, trying to get stuff in motion, so, but, I just recently asked Gunn to create a Google Doc for us all to share, that we could work in and add and subtract information from the business list. So, and he said that he would do it. If someone else knows how to do that, then, I would appreciate it getting it done. I don't know how to create that where we can all share. I don't know if we all need a Google account or what. Or is it just a document that we can create that everyone can share? So that's my question around that, and also, like I said, I lend myself to you, so if that document can work as a tool for us to do some of the work that we need to do, then that was my intent.
I think that's great. Yeah, appreciate you stepping up and helping out here for sure, keeping it going. Google, we have other documents we've used in the past in Google, so it should work great. I can help there, make sure that we get it. Anything that's created can actually be in the same shared folder and everything there for other work that we've already done.
And that would give someone permission to edit, that if they go in and they want to add a business or correct some information that's there, they could do that on that document.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I took the document that you forwarded, made some additions to it, and sent that on to Nick.
Okay.
If maybe John or Nick can help us understand how to utilize the shared document once it exists, that'd be good.
Well, I just think it might be easier for us to work from that as a tool about reaching out, because that's what we're yet to do, is to reach out to the businesses and the supporters in the area.
Richard, I'll give you my email.
Yeah.
I'll share, if you want to share my email with him, he can add me to the Google document. I'll get an email about it.
I will do that, and we've been working on this for a long time. I'll find out from Nick when he thinks he might be able to accomplish a shared folder and get going, maybe a discussion with all of us to get that together and get going. Thank you.
So you'll see on here also that it says meetings on Thursdays at 4:30.
At least part of the communication.
That was what worked for Nick. What I don't recall, I couldn't find in my notes to myself, was which Thursdays. And now that you're here and we can talk to you, does that seem like a time you might make that would work with your schedule, John?
Is that a weekly?
No, it was, I think it was once a month, or maybe it was twice a month, but that's what I'm saying, I couldn't quite remember. We were aiming for a couple, we met a couple times, and then his schedule changed, and we stopped again.
Because I think he has a new schedule too. He's in college.
Right.
Nick is in college, because we changed another meeting for him, so.
Yeah. So
I don't
Richard
know if
said,
that 4:30, that's current, the 4:30
Right.
Thursdays.
I
Okay.
talked to him, I think it was last week on the street, just to see, so we could get kind of restarted again. If you want to pick it Thursday coming up, we can get it on the calendar here for everybody and push it out to Nick as a reminder to just double check and make sure he can make it. So,
I'm good, either the 24th or the 31st can work for me.
31st is Halloween. That'll be a crazy time at the Lincoln Center.
definitely.
Yeah.
We won't recognize you if you show up.
Right. So the 24th at 4:30 could work. You and I have a meeting with Chris Cook earlier that day at 12:30.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you would be able to come back again.
I have a meeting for the 25th, Chris Cook.
It might help you, John, if we could set some kind of agenda for that,
I think,
and I'm not sure exactly what that
Sometimes I'm
is.
wrong.
My intention with this
I'll just look while we're.
was that we have a tool that we could work from in terms of reaching out. And then once we get a list that is solid
And I can answer.
and have everything that we want included in it, we can send out correspondence to the addresses that we have. And I'm thinking that that's probably our next step in following through with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
He said 24th.
yes, the 24th.
The 24th at 4:30.
The 25th. Here's the email.
Oh,
Okay.
Richard's wrong.
That's including all of us.
Yes,
You're
I'm-
teasing you, Richard. You have a wrong day. Oh.
I do have the right day. That's all right, I'll be there anyway on both days, so, but I'll be surprised. Fix that. It is on Friday in my calendar. I had to change the software on the phone,
Mhm.
so I think I'm looking at one date and I realized I'm actually looking at two. All right, moving on. Main Street's Welcome Center, do you wanna say something about?
Well, let's see, Welcome Center. I don't have anything too much to add. It's a great meeting place. We're continuing to utilize the building. I'm unsure of the current status of insurance there. I think that's still an open topic. The heat's on, the lights work. That's good. And it will be very busy on Halloween Day. We could throw that into a little later in the agenda, I suppose. I don't know if there's roof leaks still there, but roof was a topic earlier. Minor, I think it's a great space. It's an excellent meeting space and highlight of what's going on in the city. So that's all I got.
Also, just wanted to just say that we have a Main Streets training, which I think I sent to you, coming up. Is it tomorrow? Our next scheduled meeting is the 17th, and at 4 o'clock, there is a Main Streets training online with the National Main Streets Program, from 4 to 5
Tomorrow?
tomorrow. And actually, it does look like Thursday on here, the 17th.
Tomorrow's Thursday.
It's about, it's a training for helping businesses in your downtown. Social district management updates. The signage should be ordered. There is one business that's applied. I've not heard whether or not they've been approved by the state, or if there's been a subsequent application. Maybe Alex could give us an update on who's applying. But it seems as though that will get rolling this fall.
Rich, is it obvious like who, or like how to apply, like are businesses all informed on how they can apply for the social district?
Yes, I hand carried applications and explained them to every one of the eligible businesses. First, I spoke to them ahead of time to make sure that they were actually interested in who. And then with the clerk came up with a list of qualified businesses who could apply, and then took them the official city application with the ordinance and the maintenance plan update. So they have all their information, and that also includes the fee schedule for application. So for those people who choose to apply now, their application fee will cover the remainder of this year and all of 2025. And for those who choose to wait until later, they'll just get a year's worth if they apply after December. But the $50 application fee is an annual fee. And that money is supposed to help offset the costs of the additional trash pickups. But obviously it's not going to cover all of it. But it's something towards that expense so that it doesn't all rest with the city.
I haven't reviewed it, but I just did a search on the city's website for social district, and there's several links there, hopefully with current accurate information. I see the first one includes many of the applicants.
I'm not sure how, it should list who's eligible to apply. That's what that list is. The applicants.
You're right.
So, I believe the number is 7 at this point. Businesses who have, liquor licenses that qualify them to apply for, membership in the social district. If, they had to have a license registered with the state and a specific location within the social district boundaries. So, the boundaries were drawn to try to get as many people in the central downtown as possible. So that's why they go from 8th Street up to 4th Street.
The application is made to the city.
The application is made to the city and to the state. So the state has a separate fee, which I think is $250 or $275 or something like that for the business. They pay that to the state, and then they're paying the city a $50 fee because it's taken a bit of the clerk's time to put all these applications together. The city has to sign off on every application, and they have to be reviewed by the city clerk before they can be even submitted to the state. So the $50 gets stretched pretty thin with the current costs.
Pipestone Alley is not on the list.
Pipestone Alley is included in the geographic boundaries of the district. They have no license. So Houndstooth is right there, and Houndstooth has a license, but I'm not sure that she's applied yet or what her intentions are. I know she said she eventually planned to apply. So I think that's all there is right now. Moving on, the electric bill you can see is $51.93 that needs to be paid on the 21st. So if you'd like to make a motion to approve payment, we can do that.
Motion to approve the electric bill, payment of the electric bill.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The grant for the mural deck project is not applied for yet. We're still trying to work out the details on the mural side of things. Apparently it's a much larger project than I understood when I first started talking with ARS about collaborating. So we have details to work out as far as process and expense for that. We probably won't have that information until November because they're currently working on a mural, plus their schedule for the fall is pretty full, so we won't be able to sit down until sometime in November to hash out details. So you'll hear more about it, I think, next meeting or in December, but it's not moving forward too quickly at this point. So Downtown Design Committee meeting, that's the meeting I was talking about with Richard and Chris Cook on the 25th. That's to discuss the ideas that Harbor Shores has about how the maintenance should take place in the Arts District on plantings on the streets in the Arts District and how that might be funded. it's our position that the funding, they're not talking about contributing any funding. They're looking at other ways of getting it funded by assessing people downtown. So we're actually going to be talking about getting the TIF in place so that those expenses can be covered by the TIF. And hopefully we can work out a way to get that moved forward. And that kind of gives you a little bit of an update on the TIF. Paul Lippmans did say that he would try to help us find money for that. Right now, he's in the midst of the zoning ordinance review for the update. So once we're done with that, I think we'll be able to look at the TIF, funding for a TIF plan.
So this meeting is with Chris,
Yes, Chris Cook.
so it's the 25th at what time?
It's at 12:30 at the Welcome Center. Let's see. Planning Commission update, well, we're,
Oh, sorry, real quick question back to the
sure.
design committee. So Harbor Shores, are they offering like help to, or like on ideas, or like what's the relationship there?
It was put to me that they were concerned with the appearance of the plantings in the Arts District and how they reflect on the Harbor Shores Resort. And there are people who are also concerned about Arts Park and a plan to fund and maintain the park ongoing. We've been talking with some of those same people about the need to also look after Thayer Park and other areas in downtown, including the street lighting on Main Street, which is owned by the city and needs some serious repairs and replacements. That funding to do all of that is the sort of thing that would come through a TIF. And previously, that's how the city did finance a number of the improvements downtown. So with the creation of different types of economic development tools, including the Brownfields Authority, different areas have had TIFs placed on them after the DDA's TIF ran out. And there was not a new DDA TIF placed to allow the work to continue. So that's why we remain unfunded by by the taxes that are collected downtown. So the TIF, the research and the TIF plan, including the development projects like repair and replacement of Main Street lighting, maintenance of the plantings and trees, all would be part of the development plan, so that those monies that are raised through the TIF would be applied. That spreads out the improvements more equitably throughout downtown. And what good is it if the plantings are really nice on Water Street if you have to drive 2 miles on Main Street through a mess? It doesn't reflect any better on Harbor Shores or downtown to have only sections of it in good order while the rest is ignored. So that's what we'll be talking about with Chris Cook and a strategy to get that work sorted out and in place so we can make some progress. Since all of the discussions about a TIF plan and all of this stuff, I've also become aware of the fact that water mains are an issue on Water Street and Territorial that limit the development and redevelopment of the buildings that exist there because of the changes in the building codes and safety code that requires sprinklers in buildings that are not, that are going to undergo major rehab. It turns out the city does not have a water main that could support sprinkler systems for even one building, let alone the 4 or 5 that probably are going to get major rehabilitation in the next decade. That was supposed to have taken place when the street was reconstructed back in 2007-8. Apparently they put an undersized main in. And so that may ultimately end up being part of the TIF plan too, is replacing the water main to allow for the redevelopment of the other buildings. Or perhaps Brownfields Authority funding through their TIFs. But one way or another, it's surfaced as an issue just recently to me. So we'll be talking to people to figure out how to make that happen. Let's see, holiday lights, or any more questions or? Holiday lights, we have received the $10,000 check that we've been waiting for. We also received a contract from We Hang Lights, who are the people who did the lights in City Center. It's the same price as it was last year, which is $5,500. Seems reasonable. They would like to get started as soon as possible, so they're not hanging lights in right, and the end of November. So if you could please give us a motion to pay for that, that would be great.
Make a motion to pay for the holiday lights setup.
Okay. Support?
Second.
Okay. Then motion's been made, properly supported. Any discussion? All right. All in favor signify by aye.
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 I have
Any
a post-discussion,
opposed?
vote discussion about the power to allow those lights to happen. It was fairly unreliable last year. And I think we've talked for a couple of years about improving the 110 outlets so that they can be reliable and maybe more frequent. Maybe, I don't know if any of that can be worked into the monument project, but there's a lot of digging going on. So that would be great. We were running and having breakers popped and other things.
Also just want to say that this year we'll be putting up fewer lights ourselves because the shrubs have been ripped out. So there are basically 2 large shrubs next to the monuments on either side and one other bush that's on the Pipestone side. But all the little ones up front are all gone. So we won't have to struggle with all of that, getting it done. We do need to schedule our work and figure out how to get inside that cage so we can do what needs to be done and where the wires will go to plug them in. But we'll work on that between meetings. Also, I wanted to say, because we're not doing all of the lights on the small shrubs, and only the white lights on the tree, really, the trees around the edge, really show up well. I did ask that company to give me an estimate for what it would cost to put the lights on the big tree. This morning, he didn't give me the formal proposal, but he said around 5,000. So that'd be an additional 5,000 to do that. With the cost of doing Main Street, we probably still need to raise more money then. So I won't have a proposal today to share with you, but perhaps we can approve it in November and right now just get a sense of whether or not you support moving forward on trying to find the money and doing that. So any discussion?
I just have, the unveiling of the monument is gonna be on the 19th of November. So all that caging should be well gone by then and maybe still allow time to have access to do whatever lighting we're gonna do. And are you proposing including the big tree or getting a number? I guess you already have a number, 5,000. So it's up for discussion depending on funding.
Right, that's kind of like you all to weigh in on whether or not you think we should go that extra mile and raise some more money to do that. The money we have on hand is pretty much spoken for between paying to get the white lights up and the lights on Main Street. So that means raising another 5,000 or 4,000 and change.
I would favor doing other beautification that would last longer than a month or so. 5,000. It would be dramatic, but it's a lot of money. And the fringe lights were great last year. I thought that was great when we could keep them operating. So reliable electric was a big deal. They really needed to be serviced about daily.
Well, we can talk with Jake about that as well, to make sure that however they're strung up, they're, as sealed up as they can be.
It was more of a breaker at the main in the center of the park. There were a series of them there, but we just had a lot of problems.
Anyone else have a thought? So you're not in favor?
I am.
You're in favor? Anyone else I'm asking you for your advice. I'm not making a decision on my own.
In favor of raising 5,000 for white lights,
For lights on the big trees.
5,000 for only white lights? I'm sorry,
No, the trees around the center, we've just voted on. It's the big tree in the middle, the big pine tree, and we didn't decide what color or white or whatever.
An additional 5.
right, and for clarity, and I'm asking 5,000 for the tree
Yeah,
alone.
yeah, just the tree.
Because I agree with Richard, that is a lot. It could be something that is more substantial, that will last longer than just for the big tree.
Okay.
Just to add, like I already kind of said it, but it was a daily or nightly event for me to go down and reset breakers. Even the breaker on Wall Street was blowing and it had just fundamental LED use from the white lights on the fringe. So I would vote for not spending any money until we can get the electric problems resolved.
I agree.
Well, we can't. We need to do both, if that's an issue. And actually, it's his job to make sure that they're lit. That's what we're paying him for. So if there's an issue with outlets, then we need to fix the issue with the outlets. We cannot make a decision in November for him to go ahead, because by then we won't get the lights up and before December 6th, which is the date that they have to be up and ready to go on. So the big tree, I can go either way. I asked for the proposal so you'd have something to think about. And you had a comment, Virgil?
No, I didn't.
I'm sorry, I thought you had your hand up. Linda?
Richard, with the big tree, is it possible that we can get, I don't know the name of it, but you know that light that sits on the ground and it changes colors? Yeah, and then you can see that color, it'll shine directly on the tree.
Like a projector.
Yeah, I think that would be nice for the big tree. I'm sure it'd be less than 5,000.
Significantly less.
Yeah, they got one that they use over there at the Hawk's Nest.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
just shines up on the building. It could shine up on the tree and it serve the same purpose, yeah.
right. And then it's less, because I think that tree is a big attraction to the city park.
Well, that's something we can look into. Certainly that might be something we can,
Unless we just found somebody that's willing to finance it.
Well, right, I mean, that would be the next step, if you all decided that that was something that was gonna have to, that we would do, that it was important enough to do.
Yeah.
I would make an effort to find a sponsor for the big tree. I&M is sponsoring the rest of it. They're the presenting sponsor for Holiday Lights. So the trees that are on the edge, the stuff that we put up and the stuff on the street is because of I&M's sponsorship. So that big tree could be somebody else if we know someone who would like to sponsor it, or several sponsors. But we need to make a decision so that there's time to solicit. So,
Just through the chair, can we ask Mr. Little if there's a chance to get power outlet improvements?
I will investigate that this week and report back to you.
for sure, I do know that there are a number of the plastic shields that are broken or missing. And that might help to, just to keep the
Wind.
water from getting into where they're plugged in.
On the
'Cause-
receptacles, you mean?
Yeah, because the little ground faults trip,
Yeah.
and then also the breakers can trip. And then because we can't get in there, we can't reset the breakers without a key. So even if our contractor was on it, instead of expecting Richard to do it, we need to try to tighten things up if we can.
We'll look into it. In fact, I'll probably get Demetrius with me, and we'll give you a call this week and see if we can go and see exactly what we're talking about.
Great, thank you.
So are we moving past the 5,000 for the big tree? And looking at, maybe getting something else there? That would be my suggestion.
I'm fine with looking into it. It's something that we can afford on our own.
Yeah.
Those small projectors are not expensive. We just would need to figure out how we position them so that they can get the most impact on the tree. But we can play around with that, and first, probably under $100 or $100 at most if we need several. So,
One of those we find lights shining from more than one direction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that
So-
would be nice.
that's a nice compromise, so at least there's something going on there.
Mhm.
Because it has been brought to our attention that people were disappointed that
Right.
we didn't try to do that again, but there's no way I'm climbing on a lift 5 stories up.
Yeah,
That was crazy.
Yeah, that's. You can't never get me to do that.
Since I don't think any of you want to do that either, so.
You gotta go up high somewhere. Might be a distance away after that.
It's Santa Claus, not that close.
Yeah. So I just want to say too, that our event then will be December 6th. It's the Friday, of course. Starting out again in partnership with the library. So there'll be 4:30 celebrity story reading to the children who come, and that'll go on for a little over an hour. Our Deidre Fields is the person who's going to hunt down the celebrities for us. And it should be fun and interesting. Got some ideas about who to talk to and trying to make it a fun event. So that'll be exciting.
November 6th.
No, December 6th.
December 6th.
The Benton Harbor schools are planning to have a band. We're not sure if it's going to be the middle school or the marching band on that evening, but they will be present to perform. We'll do our usual pizza dinner for them and whoever else happens to be around, along with treats. And I'll be looking into how to pay for those, and we do have money from the community foundation for that. But try to stretch it as much as possible. and get some donations. So hopefully all of you can attend. And it should be a fun time. It has been every year. Let's see. So, I just want to give you a quick update on the theater. You can see we're behind our completion date for the planning, but we did get a series of preliminary drawings of 3 different concepts. We will need to approve a proposal which we have not yet gotten from Whiteman to do the analysis of the buildings on either side for the expansion into those buildings. So while there isn't a vote today, we will be, hopefully getting that proposal so you'll be prepared for November, so that we can keep the work moving forward. We need to set a date when we can all, people who are on that committee, meet to talk about what the next steps are with the buildings on either side, and if the proposal's in, talk about that. So other than that, I think, oh, and Halloween, please, if you're available at 4:00 on October 31st, please come. We'll do our part from the Welcome Center, so we'll have the heat cranked up and hopefully hundreds of little ghouls and goblins and princesses wandering the street along with the Benton Harbor Marching Band.
Even in the miserable weather of last year, the smiles were big and broad.
It's to me, it's one of my favorite things that we do every year, just because the kids have so much fun and we get to share our downtown. People get to see it up close and enjoy it there downtown, because it's about our kids and our city, and the same with the holiday lights. These are celebrations for Benton Harbor.
One more on the celebration side and the unveiling of the monument. Both monuments are going to be unveiled on that day, starting at 10:30 or so in St. Joe. Both bands from Benton Harbor and St. Joe are going to march from one monument to the other, unveil one, unveil the second, about a half an hour in between, which is some fast marching. But it'll be a big day. I think later that afternoon, MLK the third is going to be speaking at LMC. So it'll be a big kind of an all-day celebration of an accomplishment.
What is that?
19th. November 19th.
I was just gonna ask, how is the State Theater going? Any more damages? I know I know it's kind of like Richard's thing. Did you have to repair anything else? Any more break-ins? What did we?
Thankfully, no more break-ins. I'm very happy about that, because going back to zero isn't any fun for anybody. We haven't had any. There are a lot of visible homeless around, so I guess that could happen. We have not made progress with security cameras, but hopefully we can, that's after the fact, catch somebody already messing something up that's not so good. So if anybody's got an idea of how to discourage them, that'd be great.
But we haven't
We
had
are-
any incidents, right? No incidents.
Not with
We
the
have had no
theater.
incidents since both back doors have been broken. 3 front doors have been open over time, or broken. We haven't had anything since late summer.
Someone did break into the building next door, so that's been closed up. Also, we're awaiting a proposal, appraisal for the building to the east, 140 East Main, so that we know what we're talking about price-wise and can figure out a strategy for acquiring that building. So, but in the meantime, someone did break in the back It's been closed up and we're keeping an eye on all of them to make sure that people don't get in there and hurt themselves mostly.
Right,
Mm.
mostly.
Not connected to the state, but connected to theaters themselves. Anna ARS is bringing a group in from Marquette, and playing a film that they've made of their rebirth of a theater in their small town. The movie's called Marquee Town. I think you can watch it on YouTube maybe now, but it'll be a community event and maybe an energizer to have our own great theater back in service. So
When is it, when is
we-
that?
it is the 25th of this month.
25th of this month.
And the other part is we entertained a very interesting and helpful group from Plymouth, Michigan. They are operating a theater which is just about the same footprint as ours, in way better condition because it never got as low as we are as far as structure and roof and everything else goes. But they have had a lot of experience with operating with, all the challenges that go with an old building. And they're wonderful people, and they're extremely eager to share their experience and made this trip here. We went there, so we've both seen what we've got, and they're going to continue to be on board with us as needed to help us along. We need to motivate our own community to get on board, and when Whiteman gets done with plans, we'll have more to talk about on that. And it is a work in progress.
We did have representatives from Goats Light, the Citadel, Music, and Representative Andrews, along with our committee members for that event on Sunday. It was a really great discussion. A couple of the sources that they recommended for one was Stage Right, which does modular staging. I've made contact with since Sunday. They're interested in talking with us, and also Wagner Electric, which is the company that builds and maintains marquees around the country. They contacted us when the article was first in the newspaper that the DDA had the theater. They're still interested in working with us now that we're getting closer where we have documents to look at and closer to thinking about a strategy for fundraising. I contacted them again, got a response that they're interested and they'd like to come and see and meet. And Irwin Seating, which is a Grand Rapids company that manufactures seating for public auditoriums, schools, theaters, was the source of seating for the Penn Theater in Plymouth. They do custom installations so that the seats fit in the building and that they're the right angles so that they're level and all that on a floor that slopes and has an arc in it. It's very complex. So they're also interested in working with us and seeing our space to figure out what it would cost us to replace the seats. The ones that are in there from the 1960s, so they're not the original 1942 seats. With what we have and work towards something new. Information about what's available to us and some of these regional sources, because Wagner Electric is in Ohio, Irwin is in Grand Rapids, and Stage Right is also in Michigan. So, some partners.
We added an agenda item, I think.
So, well, we need, first of all, Mr. Little, if you'd like to give us an update on anything happening with community economic development or other stuff.
Well, we have quite a lot going on. Let's see, apparently this is on.
You have to hold it down, it's a real pain.
Is it-
Yeah,
The
to hold
light's
on
not on it.
the whole time you're talking.
The light's not on it.
No, when you push on the button.
You see, this light's not on. Push on the button at the bottom,
Where's the button? Oh,
right there.
okay. I
Yeah,
got it.
but you have to
Gotta
hold
hold
it.
it.
Press
Oh,
the
really?
Okay, interesting. We have quite a lot going on in downtown right now. As you know, the Cornerstone Alley project just opened up a couple of weeks ago. We're hoping that the social district will be ready to open soon. We have a new hotel project that's going to be getting underway here in downtown. I've met with the people that are doing that. They're wanting to coordinate some things with us with parking to support the hotel project. The preparation is underway for come spring, getting Colfax redone from Main Street up to Market Street. The people from MHT contacted us. They want to get started in December on their project, and we think that should move ahead. A little further out, Project T, their development and reimbursement agreement with the involvement of Brownfield for the phase one, the 14 duplexes. So that should be closing, I believe, by the first part of December. So there's quite a bit going on. Hall Park, of course, is underway. We're getting ready to have the commission designate Evan Marsh to work on the Bobo Brazil Center. I don't know anybody in France. But in addition to that, we're going to be getting set to upgrade and improve a number of our parking lots in the downtown area. And we'll also be putting in kiosk. We've heard some of the complaints and concerns, and we recognize and appreciate those, and we'll try to look at what issues are arising. But city government is like any other business. It cannot run without money. It can't do the things that it needs to do without money. And I know there's some people who are going to be disappointed because parking has been free in Ben Harbor for so long. But if we're going to move forward, that can't continue forever. We want to upgrade these lots, stripe them, put some kind of landscaping, low-level lighting on them, make them an asset to downtown as opposed to spotted eyesores in different places because they're not being addressed. And the general fund certainly does not have the money to do it. And I think anyone who follows what the city's been dealing with ever since the emergency managers know that the city's trying to dig out of a hole. And either we set aside and let the stuff go for another 20 years, or we start to try to do something to address the needs that we have. I'd say that's just about it for now. The parking lots here at City Hall, we're still trying to see if we can get them redone this year before the asphalt plants close. But they're trying to wrap up most of the street projects out here in the neighborhoods, and that's just about a good summary of what's taking place.
I'm looking, I heard about the parking, kiosks being, over the news.
It's push your button, so
Yeah, I said, I'm concerned about the parking. I'm interested in knowing more about it because I'm trying to understand if there's some overflow parking that's not being accommodated by what's available now in the parking lots, in the kiosks in the parking lots, whether it's gonna be something that's gonna be used based upon the capacity or the crowds that we have in the downtown area of needing a place to park. I haven't seen that in my observation, that there's a need.
I didn't understand, you haven't seen what?
The need for the overflow parking that is not accommodated with what we have on the street.
Well, being down here every day, unfortunately, we see a different picture. And by contacts that are being made with me and different situations is coming up, I know we're at a point where it needs to be dealt with. Actually, we're a little late with it, really. Perfect example of that was last month. I can't remember exactly when, but it was on Wednesday when the farmer's market was going over here. People at Block actually went out there and put up signs telling these people that were coming to farmer's market that they could not park on their lot unless they were going into their business. That's not their lot, that's the city's lot.
So you should know too, when talking about that lot, in particular, the employees of the library use that lot because there's not enough space especially with the plaza in place now, there's not enough space in the lot that's next to the library or behind it along the alley. They've also had an issue with employees from Block and customers of Block filling up the alley spaces that previously had a sign marked for employees. So as of yesterday, the library board of trustees directed our administrator to get new signs put up on that wall, notifying people that is intended for library employees to park along the alley. But as plans are made, there are a number of situations like this, I think, that really we have to sit down and talk with the businesses, talk with the institutions like the library to find out who all is using these things and then how we can accommodate them either by permit parking or if it's a turnover issue through time parking, and where people are trying to store fleets and all of that stuff, or developers who have built apartments without parking, that we sort out all those uses and figure out how we can best accommodate them. It has been brought to my attention, and I don't really have an answer for this, that the placing kiosks at parking lots, in the opinions of some of the people who are trying to do business and have trouble with parking spaces turning over currently, they're concerned that the people who've been parking all day in those parking lots are now going to be in front of their businesses, so they won't have the turnover they need to keep their doors open. That's already an issue because we don't have any signs up for timing on any of the parking spaces on the street. So that, this all seems like a plan of some sort has to get put together that includes all the different stakeholders.
And I agree with you, and I think you're making the point very well that I'm raising, because we are saving money.
I just haven't experienced the need. Sure.
Yeah, I think everything should be an issue.
Okay.
But you're certainly making the point. We're gonna have to look at the streets and everything as as a part of this, and as you said, talk with the different people that are being affected, hear what they've got to say, and try to see if we can come up with reasonable solutions. Within the last month to 6 weeks, we were contacted by the Green Mountain Coffee people wanting to rent or lease a number of spaces for some of their people to come in. The people that are working on this hotel came to us to talk about needing to have access to 100 spaces. The situation with parking is coming to a head rapidly, and we either sit back and watch and let it become a bigger problem, or we go ahead and deal with it head on, and we're getting ready to set up to start doing that. We've got, as you said, people who have apartments that have no parking, and I mean, it's a little presumptuous to assume that you're gonna have free parking forever. It just doesn't work like that. We've got to address our situation, do it fairly and reasonably, and at the same time, be fair to businesses, be fair to tenants who live there, but we also need to be fair to the city.
Well, one way that might help is to, again, first get signs up to limit parking in various areas on the street to half an hour, 2 hours. And then it occurs to me that the parking ordinance for the city, which was, put in place back at the dawn of the automobile, forbidding parking, overnight, is not going to serve us well, because we do have these units that have been developed without parking places, and we will have more units done if our plan for redevelopment of buildings, creating mixed-use spaces, buildings, is a success. Ultimately, we'll have those additional people, and then with the theater, we're talking about 450 seats. So that's a sizable, number of people as well. Currently, the lots and the nearby streets would support it, but then when you throw in another 100, need for another 100 spaces to be reserved for the hotel, or at least available to the hotel, you're really starting to create a bottleneck. So I know we have other land perhaps that maybe we could be incorporating, but that too has to be part of this plan to figure out where all that is so we can grow the way we want to grow. Is there?
I certainly agree entirely, because that's exactly what we're looking at. With more things coming in down here steadily, it's all going to result in need for parking. The people that just bought the old firehouse, I think it may be been a railroad station, and they've taken an option on there. They've got plans for doing some things in there and so forth. All of it is going to lead to a demand for parking, and we've got to balance this thing out some kind of way that works for everybody and works for the city.
It would be nice if we could set up a process where we can bring people together to do that through the DDA. So if you can commit maybe to help finding a date where we could all sit down with people, take a look at the maps, and kind of get a sense of what's to come so people can be prepared.
I've thought about that, and I'm not so sure a big group setting serves any useful purpose. Everybody just sort of rah, 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 and I got the problem. But I think we could do that, sitting down with people in small groups or individually, and hear what problems really are on this.
Have you identified the lots that you're talking about?
where we've identified some of them,
Some
and we're
of-
still working on them.
Is there a criteria to be on that list of which lots will be updated?
Basically, city-owned lots, we're going to address the ones that are right in this immediate area down here first. Like, the lot there next to Block has already been resurfaced, the one between the Vincent and the building next to it, where that gentleman also is asking about trying to lease some spaces for tenants. The lot down here at the end of Wall Street in Colfax is going to be redone. The one directly across the street from the hotel behind the cleaners is going to be redone. Come spring, we're gonna redo the big one that has about 194 slots that's behind the on the north side of Maine there, down the hill.
Yeah, that-
Behind the Trinity Basin.
Wouldn't it be helpful to produce a drawing with the candidate lots that you're considering? I've been in a few meetings that everybody gets confused about what we're talking about. We're describing it in various ways. A map would be really helpful.
I've got drawings on the ones that we're talking about right now, but we're still looking at all the rest of them. We're trying to identify all of them because there's gonna be, I'm sure, some overflow in terms of the situation. We just don't have enough spaces, and we're gonna try to balance them out.
We do have some opportunities along Main Street as you go west, beyond Corwell with the canal right of way. Not that you're going to see it entirely tied up with parking lots, but that could take some of that area and, thinking about how to introduce paid parking. And if we're talking about adding spaces or adding, new areas, I mean, those are areas that could start out as paid parking so that there's no, shock to the system because suddenly we're changing rules that people have gotten used to so that it happens kind of organically, at least at first. So that's where maybe the map, and then we know that the streets were laid out for angle parking. That's why they're the width they are, all the numbered streets, the ones that run north and south. They were measured by Dan Burden when he was here when we redid Main Street. So we know for sure that that's a possibility, and those new angled parking spaces could also be paid. Again, kind of introducing a new revenue source and creating the amenity we need in the places where we need it.
We're gonna be starting in downtown here, where we got the area right now. We have a tremendous flow of people coming and going in support of the marijuana industry and businesses down here. We are talking with the engineers and everybody else involved as to what our options are, including discussions about angular parking and the impact in terms of, from most recent discussion with the engineers, they indicate that some of these streets that qualify for federal pass-through money through MDOT, you disqualify yourself when you do angular parking because they won't support it. We're looking at all the factors that are involved to address the need that we have to do. And then we'll try and work and look at what solutions, if any, we can do, and how we might lessen the impact on people. But again, you see parking changes taking place in St. Joe. They're happening in South Haven. They're happening everywhere. We cannot be the only place that has free parking. So we won't be. We're going to address this issue, try to upgrade these lots and improve the services on them and get a hold of this problem before it gets worse. Quite frankly, I visualize some point down the road, probably beyond my time, but there's gonna be a need for parking decks down here. Because you just don't have, in a 4.3 square mile city, you just don't have enough wide open space to have seas of parking lots.
It's also not desirable because we need density. So yes, we do have to look carefully before we create more surface lots or managing the property we do have.
Just to add further on Rich's angle parking, I was in an engineering discussion at a meeting here with Ebenmarsh, and you just said MDOT would not contribute to an angle parking project. Consider the cost of improving a parking lot or adding parking that doesn't exist, as opposed to utilizing a road that does pretty much exist now and just needs to be reconfigured. I would keep an open mind to the Colfax area where demand is coming, as you predict, that should be considered to optimize parking as a part of that project.
There's a lot of empty space over there for whatever. I mean, parking is one of the things that you can consider.
Angle on
We
both
were in
sides.
Plymouth, Michigan, and they have their farmer's market that is open, but the spot where the farmer's market is a parking lot otherwise, I mean, except for the farmer's market day. And I thought that was quite innovative. Yeah, and it was really good news, yeah.
But on the point that you're both making there, the funding is already in place, has come through that process for this project. We're not about to say, take the money back because we gotta have angular parking. It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
There's no point in me batting around about that. It's not gonna happen. Now, the other thing, though, keep in mind, the Corner Wall Street project, which I just mentioned a little while ago, is going to be getting started with construction in December. It's gonna have a 5,000 square foot grocery store in it. And in addition to their internal parking for the people that live in the facility, that's gonna also create a parking demand externally too. And as Rich said, once the theater comes open, that's more demand for parking. Now, one of the things we're recognizing that some of the areas and businesses and projects that impact this hopefully will not all be at the same time, but it still requires some planning and optimization of what you have.
And there's a plan for street parking as well. And you're talking about the kiosks being put in the parking lot areas. Is there gonna be parking meters on the street?
We're discussing it now. And we're really not talking about meters as such. These kiosks will allow to have numbers and people will go to it and put in their license number and so forth and pay. And so it can easily be done, but we're looking at all of that now because one thing will impact the other and we realize that. And we want to try to balance it as best we can to serve everybody.
I was at a meeting when you mentioned that a study had not really been done as far as revenue goes. There was reference to Gene Clock Park as an example of the potential earnings. The spaces are completely different. Is there a written study on revenue projections and things of that sort related to this topic?
No, there isn't.
And with the kiosks, you have to actually physically go to a kiosk to make your payment.
No,
And
you
then
don't.
maybe return to your car.
You don't.
Okay, you don't have to physically go to the kiosk.
They can even do them on their cell phones or whatever. No.
It would be helpful.
Yeah, as we get closer to that, there'll be more discussion about it, and we definitely want to involve you all, and at least, have you knowledgeable so that if anybody asks you, you can answer the questions.
Couple of thoughts I had. is the revenue, like the generator, the kiosk itself, or is it tickets that you would get for not following the procedure?
I would suspect it would be the revenue from the kiosk that would help us to fund and finance the improvements and so forth.
Is there, would there be a plan for like, the kiosk would start with the lots that get improved first? Like, we wouldn't put a kiosk on an old lot that's not improved and expect people to start paying, or I guess, is that being considered?
I think that's a reasonable assumption there.
I'd like to change the subject for a second, to ask, it came to my attention this past week, from one of the developers that there are issues with the sizes of the water mains on Water Street and in that area being undersized. The issue is that to develop those buildings that have not yet been developed, or one in which it's in use, but they're planning major rehabilitation, so they've been asked or told that they need to comply with fire safety codes, which require sprinklers. The sprinklers can't be fed from the existing water main because the water main is the size that the water service should be for each of those buildings. We have the same issue over, we've talked about with the theater, that the water main that's in the alley is undersized. Is there anything in the city's capital improvement plan to approach taking these things on for economic development purposes?
Welcome to how my average days go. And I think I'd have to hedge a bit on saying that we're looking at all of these things and trying to figure a way to balance them out. Because one of the things that I am focusing considerable attention on, from the listing of things that I just talked about a few minutes ago, I think it's evident that the city is starting to really move along. And trying to keep up with some of these things is going to be a real challenge, especially given the financial situation that the city's in. We're doing a great deal now, fortunately, with the help of some of the grants and so forth that have been available, and we're going to continue to try to do the best we can. But we got a plan also beyond that. And in doing that, we're having to look at everything. And that's the reason why I'm saying the city government is a business, and it's a big business. It has to have the revenues and wherewithal to carry out and meet these objectives as they come up. If you start to, or you consider building a new building or something for a business here, you really don't want to be that concerned about what the city's overall financial thing is. If it needs water there, you want water there. If it needs sewer, you want sewer there. And we've got to operate this business in a manner that will enable us to meet those needs, to be able to handle the growth that the city so badly needs.
So the answer is yes?
Yes. Yes, it's being considered, and it will, it's necessary, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. And we don't expect you to be on the hot seat every time you come here, so thank you for answering the questions.
Well, you said that's where he's at all the time, it's on the hot seat.
Absolutely, I don't mind. But it is a thoughtful process that we're going through. It's not just, do whatever and don't give any. We recognize that different things have impact on people, and we have to try to work on all of that, but we still have to move in a forward direction.
Any other questions for Mr. Little?
maybe just some little commentary, but you mentioned a certain coffee company. There's rumors that someone's moving to town, looking for a place, I think a building, like an office building or space. Have they identified a building or space yet? I don't know if this is public information yet or not, but we obviously, from a DDA standpoint, are we involved or can we be involved to help that? Because certainly, you know, we've got a lot of empty buildings. It'd be great to bring in another company that could help support the economy here. We've got a developer here as well. So I guess where are they at in terms of finding a space? Is there anything we can do to help?
It's my impression that they have already identified the space.
May I also say, just to be forthright about this, we have a homegrown coffee business who's made a commitment to Benton Harbor and invested in the city without a requirement on the city for providing anything. It seems that having a company come in from somewhere else, whoever they are, even if it was another local company, putting a condition like that on locating here, seems to me to be unreasonable.
Their only condition was that we're willing to pay for the spaces. I think that's perfectly reasonable and one I would make available to anybody coming in and wanting to. They're willing to pay for the space, then we'll do what we can to provide it.
What conditions are we talking about? The condition of what?
That's no condition.
Well, the condition was the business wouldn't locate without dedicated parking and a specific number of spaces. But they don't own any
That's
property and their landlord doesn't own any property to provide those spaces. So the spaces that would be dedicated would have to be rented from the city. And if we're talking about a hotel and all these other things that also need the space in that same area, how many times, how many spaces can you give up for what return in terms of tax revenue or, jobs created? Who's going to be the highest bidder when it comes to actually bringing something to the city?
Well, we're certainly willing to rent the spaces to people who want to come in and do it because, as I've said from the very beginning, the city's goal is a mix of increasing the tax base, increasing the population, increasing jobs. All of those things go together. And a city, any city, uses whatever tools it has available to help accomplish that. If it's water, if it's streets, if it's parking, if it's whatever, then that's what it has to use in order to try to achieve its goals.
If there's nothing else with the board here, I think we've covered everything on the agenda.
Just one other question, that was something you mentioned earlier. Image T is what I thought I heard.
Project T.
Well,
MHT.
Oh, MHT.
MHT Housing. They own the River Terrace project and they're going to be the ones building the corner Wall Street project.
on that corner then, I've been trying to keep the parking lots relatively respectable in my own one-man way. So the project, the whole property that is going to be Project T gets a little mowing now and then. It's kind of a mess. There's still rubble from the rebuild of a street drain there that I've commented to the city about for a couple of years. We don't look like we're trying.
When they, hello?
Oh, okay, that's enough.
Yes, it is.
They're going to be the entire block, and they will be redoing everything.
Yeah, sure.
around it.
It's just kind of a derelict nightmare.
Right, and this is dragged down, I mean, because of outside conditions imposed on the developer by the financing people. This is dragged out more than it should have been.
Similar to 200 Pawpaw, they mow the grass, but they leave the hedge, which is this tall.
Give me your number so I can call you back.
We deserve a whooping.
Well, the discussion about public works is
Yes.
an ongoing discussion.
I emailed it
So
to
if
you.
it's not something we-
@bhcity.us.
And the contract to mow does not include removing debris.
Or
Building
manicure,
debris.
or manicure.
So
Yes.
coordinating, sounds like coordinating that work so that everything gets done.
The mower did remove some tires that had accumulated at 200.
Okay.
They did not do all of them.
Thank you.
I'll report this to.
Yes, that would be the.
So, if there's nothing else, we can entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
All right, any questions or comments? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Thank you.
John, we have a standing,